The gentleman in the elevator now is a candid star. These folks who are entering, the man with the white shirt, the lady with the trench coat, and subsequently one other member of our staff, will face the rear. And you'll see how this man in the trench coat tries to maintain his individuality, but little by little he looks at his watch, but he's really making an excuse for turning just a little bit more to the wall.
But an experiment is not a public opinion poll. It examines behavior under the pressure of social forces, as the experiment of Solomon Asch reveals.
The experiment you'll be taking part in today involves the perception of lengths of lines. As you can see here, I have a number of cards, and on each card there are several lines. Your task is a very simple one. You're to look at the line on the left and determine which of the three lines on the right is equal to it in length. All right, we'll proceed in this order. You'll give your answer.
Only one of the people in the group is a real subject, the fifth person with the white T-shirt. The others are confederates of the experimenter and have been told to give wrong answers on some of the trials. The experiment begins uneventfully as subjects give their judgments.
2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3.
But on the third trial, something happens.
2, 2, 2, 2, 2.
The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence.
1.
Asch found subjects went along with the group on 37% of the critical trials.
1.
But he found through interviews that they went along with the group for different reasons.
1. 1. They must be right. There are 4 of them and 1 of me. 1.
This subject's yielding is based on a distortion of his judgment. He genuinely believes that the group is correct.
1. 1. 1. 2. 1. 2. 2. 2.
I know they're wrong, but why should I make waves?
2.
In this case, the subject knows he is right, but goes along to avoid the discomfort of disagreeing with the group. Here, the distortion is at the level of his response.
2. 2. 2. 2.
In the previous experiment, the naive subject stood alone against the group. In this variation, Asch gave the naive subject a partner, here seated in the third position, who also gives the correct response.
1. 1. 2. 1. 2.
With a partner, yielding drops to only 5% of the critical trials compared to 37% without a partner. Although subjects report warmth and good feeling toward the partner, they typically deny that he played a role in their own independence. The partnership variation shows that much of the power of the group came not merely from its numbers, but from the unanimity of its opposition. When that unanimity is punctured, the group's power is greatly reduced. Sometimes we go along with the group because what they say convinces us they are right. This is called informational conformity. But sometimes we conform because we are apprehensive that the group will disapprove if we are deviant. This is called normative conformity. The strength of the normative factor is shown in another variation carried out by Asch. In this variation, the subject is told that because he had arrived late, he would have to write his answers. Subjects in this private response experiment are exposed to the same amount of misleading information as other subjects, but they are immune from any possible criticism by the group.
1. 1. 1.
And this enormously reduces the pressure to conform. Conformity drops by 2/3. Asch's experiment is a classic. It reveals how people will deny what they see and submit to group pressure. It allows us not only to observe conformity, but to study the conditions that increase or reduce its occurrence.
In 1961, an experiment was conducted by Dr. Stanley Milgram, a psychologist at Yale University. Participants responded to a newspaper advertisement. The purpose of this obedience study was to observe an individual's willingness to inflict pain when ordered to do so. The participants did not know that the victim was an actor and that the shocks were not real.
This electrode is connected to the shock generator in the next room. And this electrode paste is to provide a good contact to avoid any blister or burn. You'll now get a shock of 75 volts. He kind of did some yelling in there. 75 volts, Jim. You don't know. Please continue. This will be at 3:30. Just how far can you go in this thing? As far as is necessary.
I can't stand the pain. Let me out of
You can't stand it. I'm not going to kill that man. Eh? You hear him hollering? As I said before, the shocks may be painful, but they're not dangerous. They're hollering. He can't stand it. What if something happens to him? The experiment requires that you continue, teacher. Yeah, but I'm not going to get that man sick of that. I mean, he's hollering there. I mean, who's going to take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman? I'm responsible for anything that happens here. Continue, please. 285 volts. Continue, please.
If anything happens to him, I am responsible.
That's what I needed to know.
Okay.
Why is that what you needed to know?
I needed to know that he heard what the gentleman said, and I needed to know that he knew, and that he was responsible, and that he was aware of what was happening.
You heard the man say, "My heart hurts."
I did.
And just having the guy in the lab coat saying, "Keep going, it's fine, I'm telling you it's fine, going," somewhat divorced you from your own decision-making power?
Oh, sure. It's just like when I'm told to administer the state tests for hours on end.
You're doing your job.
Doing my job.
She told us later she didn't believe she would have shocked the learner in the danger zone.
What were the differences between men and women?
The argument has always been that, well, women are going to be more empathic. They're going to be more caring and concerned about the man on the other side of the wall.
Grass, duck.
And yet, some women showed little emotion during the experiment.
Wrong. 120 volts. Wrong. 135 volts.
It didn't go all the way down. Please go ahead. Okay.
Wrong. 150 volts.
That's all. Get me out of here.
Right,
I told you I had heart
White
trouble.
horse.
My heart's starting to bother me now.
Continue with the next
Get me out of here, please.
Others
To guess that culture would come into this, and the culture might play a role. There are some societies, we call them collectivist cultures, in which people are more geared toward doing what is good for the group.
My heart's starting to bother me now. Get me out of here, please.
White horse.
Bother me.
Set.
I refuse to go on.
Face. In Asia, like punishment from parents as well as like punishment from schools are actually kind of common.
In the 1970s, an experiment on the psychology of imprisonment was carried out at Stanford University by psychologist Philip Zimbardo and his colleagues, who created their own jail in the basement of the Stanford Psychology Building. The students who volunteered for the study were carefully tested. Each had to be psychologically and physically healthy to participate. Some students were then randomly selected to act as prisoners, while others became guards. The researchers surprised the prisoners by having them arrested at their homes and dormitories. The prisoners went a series of rituals to establish their new lowly status. They lived in tiny cells 24 hours a day, cut off from their usual surroundings.
Prisoner 819? Prisoner 819 is being punished, Mr. Correctional Officer. Let's give it 5 times, make sure you remember it. Prisoner 819 is being punished, Mr. Correctional Officer. Down. Up.
The guards, however, only worked 8-hour shifts, and they returned to their normal routines as students when off the job.
Up. 5 right 6 is our belly roll. These are push-ups. Keep that back straight. Down.
What happened surprised everyone, including Zimbardo. The illusion became the reality. the boundary between the role each person was playing and his real personal identity was erased.
You have to find Mr. Correctional Officer. Now keep it straight.
Nice boys became brutal guards. Healthy kids got sick.
Get in that closet then. You're not going to hurt his energy boys there.
Active ones became passive and zombie-like prisoners. The situation became so overpowering that many of the prisoners developed extreme stress reactions and had to be released. But no one ever said, "I quit the experiment."